After a night of birthday celebrations at a park in London, two sisters seemingly vanish when everyone stops hearing from them the next day. When police don't take the matter seriously, their loved ones launch their own search for them and make a horrifying and gruesome discovery. But things would get even worse when two officers violate their oath, and a police investigation reveals the dark and evil intentions behind these demonic human sacrifices. This is the case of Danyal Hussein. Bibaa Henry was born on June 6, 1974, in London, the capital of England and the largest city in the UK. Her mother, Mina, was a teacher who later joined the priesthood to become the first black female archdeacon in the Church of England. Bibaa's father, Herman, was a boxer who later owned and operated a successful contracting company. Bibaa grew up in a loving family who described her as a fantastic person to be around, and usually the one with the biggest personality in the room. She had always made it her duty to help the most vulnerable people in society. So much so that when she was raising a baby as a single mother, she took on the responsibility of driving disabled children to their activities during the day, all while her baby sat next to her in the car. Staying true to her values, Bibaa eventually worked her way up to become a senior social worker at Buckinghamshire Council. By the time she was in her late teens, Bibaa's parents went through a divorce, and her mother remarried a man by the name of Christopher Smallman. Mina and Christopher eventually gave Bibaa a new baby sister by the name of Nicole. Nicole is described by her friends and family as a warm, friendly, and mellow person who was loved by everyone around her. She was artistic and found beauty in everything. It was only right that she made it her career to capture the beauty she saw when she decided to become a photographer. Nicole attended the University of Westminster, where she was very much into theater and documentary filmmaking. Despite the 19-year age gap between her and Bibaa, the two sisters always had a tight bond, constantly staying in touch with one another and always gathering for holidays and special occasions. One of those occasions was in June of 2020. Bibaa's 46th birthday landed on June 6th, the first Saturday of the month. Bibaa's family and friends would usually gather and throw her a party, but this birthday happened to land right at the peak of the pandemic. Cases of infections were at an all-time high and were getting higher by the day all around the world. Major cities in most countries around the globe had enforced lockdowns and limited indoor social gatherings. London was no exception. To avoid violating these policies, Bibaa and Nicole decided to have a small outdoor gathering at a park in Wembley, a suburb in North London. Their plan was simple: bring some food and drinks to the park and play some music while they celebrated. It would be a refreshing change from being locked in the house as everyone else was at the time. But what seemed like a joyful day of celebration with loved ones would later turn out to be a dark day marked by grief and devastation. Saturday, June 6, 2020, Bibaa and Nicole left home early and set off to get everything ready for the day. They first stopped by a store to pick up supplies for the picnic, after which cameras recorded them entering a supermarket where they bought food and drinks. After this, they drove straight to Friant Country Park, where they could be seen entering it with their bags. They settled at the top of a small hill and played some music as they laid out their blankets and waited for friends to arrive. The first person to join them was Nina, one of Bibaa's closest friends from childhood. After a while, Nicole's boyfriend Adam showed up, and before long, everyone else joined them and the small party started. By all accounts, the gathering went well. It was filled with laughter and positive energy. The group had drinks and snacks and danced to music for hours as they celebrated Bibaa's big day and had her open gifts and birthday cards. As the night approached, things started to wind down, and one by one, friends gave hugs and wished Bibaa a happy birthday before leaving and going home. By 12:30 a.m., everyone had decided to call it a night, including Nina and Adam. Bibaa and Nicole, however, decided to stay behind and spend a little more time together while they cleaned up and packed everything. After going home, Adam wanted to check up on Nicole and texted her. Nicole replied back saying, "I'm dancing in a field," and sent him this picture at 1 a.m. which showed her and Bibaa dancing with lights. Police would later conclude that at the very moment this photo was taken, someone was lurking in the dark and closely watching them both. The next morning, on Sunday, June 7th, Adam sent Nicole a good morning message but got no response. After a while, he tried calling her but her phone went to voicemail. He became a little concerned and tried tracing her location, but her phone couldn't be located. It could have been that she had just slept in and didn't charge her phone, so he decided to call Nicole's roommate just to make sure she was okay. Her roommate told him that she still hadn't come home yet. Adam desperately tried finding clues as to where Nicole might have gone and checked her bank account. Her most recent transaction was from the day before. Bibaa wasn't answering his calls either, and so Adam decided to go to her apartment. He frantically knocked on her door, but was met with silence. After calling her friends and family, he learned that nobody knew where either of them were. Bibaa and Nicole had seemingly vanished, and at this point, everyone became concerned. Police were called, but reportedly didn't take the matter seriously and didn't feel an urgent need to look for them. Bibaa's close friend Nina was also very concerned, and so later that day she went to the park to see if she could find any trace of them. As she walked through the grass, Nina spotted something reflective on the ground. When she got closer, she saw that it was Bibaa's sunglasses. Nina would later say, "I saw them glinting in the sun and my heart sank. I just knew she would not have left them behind." Nina immediately called the police, who told her to bring them to a police station. As she left, Adam had already arrived with his parents to search the park. He also found something in the grass. It was Nicole's sunglasses. He left them there just in case he happened to be walking through a crime scene, but the search continued. Minutes later, Adam's father found a bloody knife. As they continued walking, Adam spotted shoes in the bushes. When he got closer, he realized that they were actually legs, Nicole's legs. Adam immediately dropped to his knees. He had just found his girlfriend covered in blood, with pale skin and a blank stare. She had been stabbed and sliced 40 times. Bibaa's body was found intertwined with Nicole's and had 8 stab wounds. Mina received a call with the devastating news of both of her daughters having been brutally murdered. After this discovery was reported to police, they finally started taking the matter seriously and secured the crime scene before detectives arrived to start their investigation. Near the bodies, they found the cushion the sisters had brought with them the day before, covered in blood, and a bag with the picnic blanket still packed inside. At the bottom of a pond nearby, both of their phones were found, along with their credit cards and IDs. The clock was now ticking, and police had to track down the person responsible for this. However, before Bibaa and Nicole's loved ones even had a chance to grieve their loss, they were dealt another devastating blow. This time, it was by the very officers who were tasked with keeping the crime scene secured.
Do you have anything to say?
Do you have anything to say?
Any apologies at all?
Are you going to apologise?
No words, just a nod of apology, after these 2 police officers admitted taking unofficial photographs of a murder scene. PC Denise Jaffa and PC Jamie Lewis were asked to guard the area where sisters Bibaa Henry and Nicole Smallman were found dead in bushes. Rather than protecting the crime scene, police officers Jaffa and Lewis left their post to take photographs and shared them on WhatsApp. Shocking details of how the police officers behaved has now emerged. PC Lewis edited one of the pictures and superimposed his own face on the photo with the 2 victims in the background. He then shared this with PC Jaffa, who sent it on unsolicited to a female officer.
While these 2 officers were awaiting trial, detectives on the case pushed forward and were determined to catch the killer. Forensic investigators tested all of the evidence found at the crime scene and quickly found a lead. Multiple people's DNA were found in the blood at the scene. One DNA profile belonged to Bibaa and another belonged to Nicole. However, there was a third DNA profile that matched neither of them. All that was known about it was that it belonged to a male. Police compared it against all DNA profiles in their database hoping for a match, but didn't get one. Instead, they got the next best thing, a partial match. This meant that the person this DNA partially matched with was a close blood relative to the perpetrator. This was a major breakthrough in the case that significantly narrowed down the list of suspects, and surveillance teams were dispatched to closely watch all members of this person's family. They also traced each of their movements back to the days leading up to the murders, and one person in particular immediately stood out. On June 3rd, just 3 days before the murders, an 18-year-old relative was captured on camera entering a supermarket late that afternoon. Minutes later, he walks up to the register with a few items including a set of kitchen knives which require ID to be purchased. He takes off his mask and hands the cashier his passport. The knives purchased were confirmed to be the same type as the one used in the murder. He was identified as 18-year-old Danyal Hussein. Danyal grew up in Blackheath, a small community on the outskirts of London, and is the eldest of 4 children. His neighbors said that his parents had a tumultuous relationship and that screaming would regularly be heard coming from the house. They eventually divorced by the time Danyal reached his early teens. As a child, Danyal was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, which caused him to have trouble socializing and making friends. He's described as a loner who would regularly wander off. His father would later say that he always worried about him because he felt that he was being led in the wrong direction. It's not exactly clear what he meant by that, but in October of 2017, 15-year-old Danyal was referred by his school to a counter-extremism government program called Prevent after he was caught accessing far-right propaganda on a school computer. He allegedly considered himself an Aryan and remained in the program for a few months before being discharged in May of the following year, when he was deemed to no longer pose a risk. A closer look at Danyal revealed that his father's house was just a few-minute walk from the park where the murders took place. On July 1st, almost a month after the murders, detectives were convinced that they'd identified their killer and they had all that they needed to move on to the next stage of their investigation: make an arrest, execute a search warrant, and find out why this happened.
Someone's coming to the door. That's it. That's it.
Take your hand for
Mate, you're under arrest. Come out. Come out the address. Keep walking towards me. Keep walking towards me. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. Hands on your head. Stay where you are. Face me. Hands on your head. Stay where you are. You're under arrest, all right? Yeah, 100 minutes to it. Come to face the car. Yeah? Yeah.
From Uniform 0, just confirm subject secure.
Well, depends on number 6. If you just stay where you are for now. If you please don't bring
I think I'll bring
taser.
clear in a second.
Is there a mum in there?
Yeah, there is.
Okay, madam, if you come to the door for us, please. Okay.
After bringing him to the police station to be processed, officers noticed something on Daniel's right hand.
Do you have any injuries?
Yeah.
Just the wrists from the cuffs?
No.
Oh. How did that happen? How did that happen?
Sorry.
How did that happen?
Oh, is this the interview?
That was the question. The injuries on your fingers. What happened there?
Danyal had multiple cuts on his hand. A closer look at them showed that they were stitched up, with the stitches still in his skin. This meant two things. One, the cuts were deep, and two, they were sustained very recently.
Okay, don't worry.
I was getting the wrong.
As Daniel's being processed, other officers executed a search warrant back at his house and found latex gloves, a ski mask, and a shovel. Then they found some strange and disturbing things that would literally spell out his motive to kill. In his bedroom, police found multiple papers with sigils drawn on them. A sigil is a type of symbol which is believed to have supernatural powers and is used in magic and occult rituals. Sigils are also used to cast spells and summon deities such as angels and demons, with each deity having its own unique symbol. As officers continued searching, they found a green piece of paper which revealed the purpose of Daniel's heinous crime. On the paper was a handwritten contract. It was a pact that Danyal had made with a demon called Lucifuge Rofakal. Practitioners of black magic believe this demon to be a subordinate of Lucifer and the go-to demon for those who want to strike a deal with the devil. The contract outlined the conditions of the deal. It read, "To the mighty king Lucifuge Rofakal, perform a minimum of 6 sacrifices every 6 months for as long as I am free and physically capable. Sacrifice only women. Build a temple for you. Do everything that I have promised. For me, win the Mega Millions Super Jackpot to receive fruitful rewards in return for the future sacrifices I make to you. The rewards could consist of wealth and power, to never be suspected of any crimes by the police, and also that the police will never know of any crimes that I have done and that I will do." At the bottom of the page was Danyal's signature written in his own blood. 3 lottery tickets were also found. Police would later learn that he purchased many more tickets online, including 5 tickets for the Mega Millions when the jackpot was at $442 million. Another contract was also found addressed to another demon. In that one, Danyal requests that a girl at his school fall deeply in love with me and believe and see that I am the only one for her. He added that he also wanted to be more attractive to women romantically, and in exchange he pledged to burn incense in your name, offer some sweet drink, offer chocolate, and offer some blood. The girl didn't fall in love with Danyal, and none of his tickets were winners. He later called his bank to dispute the charges he made to buy them in order to try and get his money back after realizing that the deal didn't go through as he expected. Over the next few days, police would gather more damning evidence. Cameras near his father's house captured Danyal leaving the house just before 8 p.m. and heading toward a nearby bus stop. Shortly after, another camera picked him up exiting a bus just outside the park. Just after 3 a.m., he's spotted returning home. He had no pants on, and instead had wrapped himself up in the sweater he was wearing when he left the house. He also seemed to have his hand wrapped in that same sweater. He stayed home that day and left later in the evening and went to a hospital to get treated for the cuts on his hand. When the hospital staff asked him how he sustained those injuries, he told them that he was mugged by a group of men, but refused to report it to police. Danyal was charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of unlawfully possessing a knife. While awaiting trial, police found more details about his activities leading up to the murder. Danyal was found to have frequented an online satanic forum that provides instructions on how to perform rituals and summon deities. He also closely watched a YouTube channel operated by one of the forum's co-founders, in which he discussed blood pacts, human sacrifices, and his far-right ideology. This person's YouTube channel and his Facebook and Instagram profiles have all been subsequently taken down. Danyal pleaded not guilty to all charges and denied having anything to do with the murders or the pact found in his bedroom. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and he was eventually found guilty of all charges. At his sentencing, the judge told him, "You committed these vicious attacks. You did it to kill. You did it for money and a misguided pursuit of power. Bizarre though the pact with the devil may appear to others, this was your belief system, your own commitment to the murder of innocent women. No family should have to endure this." Due to Danyal being under the age of 21, the judge was unable to hand out a full-term life sentence. For crimes of this severity, the minimum is usually 37 years, but he was given a minimum of 35 years and may be released only if he is no longer a danger to the public. For this reduced sentence, the judge cited his age, having just turned 18 at the time, and his autism, which she said could make him struggle in prison more than others. Denise Jaffer and Jamie Lewis, the 2 officers who took inappropriate photos of the victims' bodies at the crime scene and shared them in group chats, have been relieved of their duties and were each ultimately sentenced to 2 years and 9 months after pleading guilty to misconduct in public office. Mina Smallman believes that the reason police initially took so long to start investigating her daughter's disappearance was due to their race. When asked about it, she was quoted saying, "Oh, absolutely, I'm convinced. I think the notion of all people matter is absolutely right, but it's not true." According to The Guardian, she forgave her daughter's killer because he was obviously sick and was willing to meet with the 2 officers, but withdrew her offer after they unsuccessfully attempted to appeal their sentences.